Hi everyone, I'm Kelsey from DietitianbyDay. Welcome to my video. I'll be talking about how to use my wedding item manager spreadsheet. I do have this for sale on Etsy right now, so in case you haven't purchased it yet, I will put a link in the description below so that you can find that. And then this video really will be talking about how to use the spreadsheet. I'll also give some cool tips on just general how to use Google Sheets, so you can use those for this spreadsheet and any other ones you create in the future. This is the table of contents, and it shows all of the sheets in the spreadsheet organized just with these links that you can click on. You're also going to be able to get to any of these sheets with this navigation bar at the bottom of the screen. You might have to scroll over a little bit. I do have some of these with longer names, but those primary ones we're going to be using most of the time are going to be these first few ones that you see here. So you can click these navigation tabs at the bottom to get to the different sheets, or you can click in that table of contents, this little. So I won't read through this whole page because a lot of it is going to be things that I'm going to be explaining throughout this video. I just wanted to show you this page is available. It does have a lot of instructions on each different page for you to read through if you prefer to do that rather than coming all the way back to this video. It also talks about some general tips for Google Sheets, things like printing and hiding columns, just in case you're not aware of those. That's a good resource. And then let's go back to our table of contents at the bottom. So when we start putting things into our wedding item manager, the first place we're going to want to look is, let's look at inventory first. This is going to be where pretty much everything that you're putting into the sheet is going to go. And so you can see that we're going to be able to put in any of the items that are going to be at the wedding. We're going to be able to put in where they're being stored currently. So I actually added a column for something that the rental company is bringing. A lot of these other ones will be a location like a box that we've named, our garage. We're just going to want to put these in as places that we're going to keep our items. And I'll show you where we're going to customize those in a second. So we have our item, we have our storage location. We're going to want to assign it to a place that's going to be on the wedding day. That's what I have, WD standing for wedding day. We're going to want to have in who's setting up the item on the wedding day. We're going to want to put in any details that are needed, or if we want any more specific location instructions for people that will be helping set up or organize the venue. There's an option of putting in photos. It is a little easier on the phone app, but you are able to put photos in. They can be helpful if you're just printing out this entire list for someone to look at, like your day of coordinator, but definitely not necessary. For these two columns, it's only going to be if we're using these items at the rehearsal day. So if something is going to be used at the rehearsal day, we'll put in something into this column. But if not, I'm just going to leave it blank. And then this last column, super helpful, definitely not necessary, but if you are interested in having a little bit more control over things that you haven't necessarily purchased yet or made yet and still will be needing to do, we can type in a specific letter to highlight the row, and then it will actually organize it into another list for you, but we'll get into that in a second. So where did all of these names come from? Because we don't want to have to type this into every box saying if it's going to be in a different storage location. And so you can see that this is actually a drop-down list. And so I have all these in here just as examples. So I'll show you how you can customize those. And eventually, I'm going to leave a few of these in here for all of the, for everyone who buys this spreadsheet. I'll leave a few in here just as an example to see, but you're able to delete everything pretty quickly. Just highlight it, hit delete, everything will clear. We just don't really want to delete the cells. We don't want to hit delete cell because that could mess up some of the formulas. I'm just going to undo so we can see all of the things that are back in this sheet. And so to get these different locations, they're entered here in our planning center. And so you can see I've entered a few here just so we can have some to select from for this example video. But
if we're wanting to add a different storage location, so these are going to be the names of the boxes that I've labeled. Usually, so for our wedding, we had a bunch of different boxes, and we'd written the names of them on them, so we knew which part of the wedding they were for. So you can see I have a cocktail hour box, ceremony box. I usually had a number 1 after them, just in case we had to add another one later. So say if I wanted to add cocktail hour box 2, that gives us another option for if we have some overflow and needed another box. These little dashes, you can delete them if you want. I just have them in there to make it a little easier for some of the later on stuff with this sheet. You can delete them, keep them there, up to you, but I'll show you in a bit where those are coming into play. So now that we put in cocktail hour box 2, we'll see that everything in here is going to transfer over to that inventory sheet. So since we put that in as a storage location, we've got storage box 1, which was already selected, and then now we see cocktail hour box 2. So that's how you can customize all of these yourself. So you'll be able to type in any of your names into the names of the storage locations into this column. For any of the locations for the wedding, we're going to type that into this column. So you can see I have cocktail hour box 1, box 2. Obviously those are probably going to be most of the things that are going to the cocktail hour grass for the wedding day. We just want to keep those separate because these are where we're storing things, the storage locations. And then these ones are going to be where everything is getting set up, and they might not always, one thing goes for another. We might have some things that have some overlap in different areas. So we just want to separate the storage locations names from the wedding day location names. Then also we have the people that are setting up, so our setup crew. I put in their day of coordinator, rental company, venue staff, groomsmen. You just want to kind of include anybody that might be helping to set up the wedding in this column, and later on we'll see how we can actually organize our lists so that each person gets their own list of everything to do on that day. So just anybody you can think of, try to put in here. Then same goes for the rehearsal day locations and setup crew. If they're going to be the same, you can copy some of those names over, but just try to think of everybody that could be helping you and put them into these columns on the planning center sheet. So now that we know where all of these drop downs are coming from, let's see what happens when we put something in that doesn't necessarily match the drop down. So we don't have anybody in here. I'm just going to put in purple, and we're going to see that this creates a little error message. So that's telling us that purple isn't the name of somebody that we put in for the setup crew. So to fix this, if we did want somebody called purple, we're going to go into the wedding day setup crew, type in purple, and we will have to refresh it. So unfortunately you can't just select purple again because that error message will stay there. You can select somebody else, it'll refresh itself, select purple. And then now this person is a valid setup crew person for that day. So that's the way, if you want to go back and edit the people that you're adding, just try to put them in here first because it's a little more straightforward, because then you can just select them. So I'm going to take them off though. And then we can also look at this last column on the right hand side, well, second to last column, but we're going to look at this one that's called, it's got all these letters and then has all these like deciding, to buy, to make, waiting on, things like that. So this was the one that creates that list for us to help us organize stuff we still need to figure out if we're bringing to the wedding. So let's say I'm still deciding if I'm going to have a veil. I haven't assigned it to a storage location, which does trigger this spreadsheet to highlight that for me, because that's pretty important. If we don't know where it is, where we're keeping it, I want to keep track of those items. If I did select it, this highlight would go away. But let's keep it highlighted for now since I don't actually have it. And then if I haven't decided I'm going to get one yet, I might put in a D before the deciding. That's going to highlight this entire row, which I feel is helpful so that when you're scrolling through, you know that's something you don't have yet. It's also going to put it into this different sheet right here called pending items. And right here we can see still deciding if bringing, veil. So this is just kind of a list to keep track of the different things that maybe you're deciding if you're bringing, things you know you want to buy but haven't yet, things that maybe you already bought but are waiting to come in, and things you might need to make. So it's just helpful to have these different lists. As you can see, I don't have anything assigned to waiting for, things to make, things to buy, so it just says not available. And Veil is right there. So to show how we can switch this to, now I've decided to buy a veil but haven't done it yet, let's make it, instead of D, a B. It's going to highlight it in a different color. And then if we look in the pending items, now Veil is here under things to buy. Same goes, you want to switch it to, if you wanted to make a veil, you could put it under capital or the M. And then if you wanted to, if you'd already bought it, you're waiting on it, capital W. And it just changes to different colors to kind of help organize that. And then once you've gotten it, you're saying, let's see, we'll keep it in the ceremony box. Takes away that highlight there, and then we'll just delete this. And then now we have it, and later on we can decide where we're going to put it during the wedding day, things like that. Who's going to help you figure out where to set it up, stuff like that. So that's how we use this last column in the pending item sheet. With that, we've covered nearly everything that you need to enter and customize in this spreadsheet. The last few sheets, the items by storage location, and these 3 that I have down here for printing, those are pulling information from this inventory sheet that you've already entered, and they're going to organize it for you. So let's first look at the items by storage location. So remember, our storage location is that second column here that is going to be where we're going to be storing everything. So we go into here, and then we can see everything that has been assigned. So it's really going to only pull things that have been labeled for these different storage locations. So you can see some of them I have missing, and I haven't assigned them to all these different ones that I have available. So some of them do say not available. These dash ones mean that there wasn't a storage location entered in that planning center beyond these ones right here. So these were all entered in the planning center. In the inventory sheet, these were all assigned to those ones that were entered with the drop down. And then, yeah, you can see pretty much, so this is going to be all of those items that were assigned to ceremony box 1, cocktail box 1, cocktail hour box 2, don't have anything assigned. Rental company bringing is those ones. So it's really helpful to have this for just making sure you haven't lost anything. It's kind of like auditing yourself. We've got the burlap runner, guest book, pencil the guest book, all those in the ceremony box. So, periodically what I would do is I had this list available and would just make sure, okay, well, wait, I know I used the whiteout maybe last week. Did I put it back in the box? So having this list and seeing where things are supposed to be just kind of helped to keep everything organized. So that's the items by storage location. You can also print these out. So what I did later on, like as we were nearing the wedding day, you can highlight each different column. If you want, you could just print the whole sheet, but I highlighted each column. Go to File, I'm going to print it, and then we're going to select, we want to just print the selected cells. So, this way you can see the items pretty easily. You could print it out, throw it in the box. That's what we did. And so that way, you can just make sure everything's in the right place. Or you could print the entire thing and just make sure that way. So that's the storage location one. And then if we're going to go to these last 3, I really didn't use them much until right before the wedding. So these are going to be the ones that are going to organize everything by the specific area. That's what this sheet is for. So, this could be good to print out and have, we had a binder. So this could be good to print out and have it so that your day of coordinator or whoever's helping you out can see what's going to be in every single area of the venue. So the cocktail hour grass, we only, in our inventory right now, just have cornhole set. You can see that the groomsmen are going to set it up. It's supposed to be stored in the garage. I'm probably going to want to update that because obviously our wedding's not going to be close to our garage where somebody could go pick it up. So we might want to slightly adjust that to a different location. And then it's going to have those details that I put in there. And if it was used at the rehearsal, this row right here, or the cell right here would be highlighted. and it's going to tell us where it was at the rehearsal. So that, you know, if things are being used multiple places, that helps organize that. The only thing with this sheet and the next two sheets is once you do get enough things going, you have enough items at your cocktail hour grass that it's going to overlap. So there'd be more items than the 20 spaces here. We're just going to have to add some extra rows. I'll show you on this one. Let's say for the ceremony area, I did have a lot of items in there. So you can see it says ref, I guess, reference. I'm not sure what it stands for, but it's basically an error message. And it says that the result was not expanded because it would overwrite data in B42. So we can see down here, B42 is this one. So basically it's saying that all of the items that this formula I have in here is pulling are going to overlap that, so it's not going to put those in. So all I have to do is just highlight a few of these rows. I'm going to hit insert 8 rows, below, above, doesn't really matter. And then, as you can see, now we can see all of that information because I added those rows, and now it's not going to overlap that last, the dinner tables row. So if you do notice you start getting some of those error messages, just try adding some extra rows and then see if your information pops back up. Down here you see the NA. That error message just means nothing's entered yet. So since we have some things here, the error message isn't there. We fixed this error message, the ref one, and then not available. Nothing was entered for this one. And so that's just those 3 things that you might see with the wedding day items by location, by setup person, and the rehearsal day. So I have that as a separate thing, rehearsal day items by location. It'll all be the same. And if you do forget what those error codes mean, hover over the need help little section over here, and I do go into details about what I was just talking about with how to fix those error messages. Okay, and then last but not least, kind of how we're going to use these really organized spreadsheets is, so we were talking kind of about for the wedding day items by location, it's helpful to have maybe a binder or something that has all these printed out so you can just see where everything is supposed to be for the wedding. So you'll see here, you could give it to your day of coordinator, they'll know, okay, in the ceremony area, they want to have 100 chairs, and the venue staff is bringing it, setting it up, so they don't have to worry too much about that. The rental company, obviously, it doesn't have a storage location for that reason. We can see here, this was how that gets highlighted, and it shows that at the rehearsal, it's being used for the dinner tables. So just so you know, the day of coordinator knows, okay, well, that's where it was yesterday, so it should be there for today for the use for the wedding. And so we can print all of this. Either we can print the entire sheet. What I found helpful was to just print each section. If you are willing to go through and highlight each area, we're just going to do file, we're going to do print. And this way you can see it with all of the pages together, which, you know, you definitely could print them this way. Or we can just do selected cells and then print it so that they can see the ceremony areas when I have all these different things and what all the details for them are. So that's the areas by location. Same idea goes for the items by setup person. This one, you can see it pulled in those people that I have assigned as the setup people for the wedding day. Mother of bride, mother of groom. We've got rental company, venue staff, etc. So these can be helpful to print, and for our wedding, people liked having a list of things they were supposed to do. So you could always print this, give it to those specific people that are putting up specific things, and that was really helpful for them. And it'll show them where it's supposed to go, where it was. Same idea as that wedding day items by location. And this one's just for the rehearsal day. It obviously doesn't have that box for if it's being used at the rehearsal day, but everything that is in that inventory list, if we're using it at the rehearsal dinner, we have the groomsmen setting it up. Let's put for the reserved seat signs, let's say it's at the dinner tables for the rehearsal dinner as well, which is part of that planning center dinner tables. That's where we're getting the drop down. The groomsmen are setting it up. That's also from the Planning Center Groomsmen. And then we'll go into our rehearsal day items by location, and we can see that those are in there now. So, just another helpful way to have your items organized for both the rehearsal day and the wedding day.
Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope that it was helpful in describing how to use the Wedding Item Manager spreadsheet. If you do have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to me on Etsy, or I will have my contact information linked by hovering over this DietitianbyDay little logo thing at the bottom. So if you hover over there, my email will be there and you can reach out to me through that. But overall, I think this spreadsheet will help you organize everything so that you can have as stress-free of a wedding as possible.